understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
Hulk, go smash.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Here's Johnny.
Wait, 21 gigawatts!
Hey, motherfucker.
You never go ass to mouth.
Now what is so damn funny?
And here we go.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
Force will be with you. Always.
But the truth! You can't handle the truth! Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
What's up, fanboys and fangirls? Welcome to episode number 22 of the Movie Club podcast. This is the January 2016 edition, and we're going to talk about winter films. The old wintry months are ahead of us, and kind of during right now, just had some snowfall, and we're in the snow mood, so we figured we'd pick 4 movies that were based off of snow in some capacity. Edward Scissorhands, Groundhog Day, Frozen, and Snowpiercer. We're going to talk about them one by one. But first, I need to introduce to you the panel that's going to be talking. I am your host, Tony Mango, and joining me on this episode, I got a bunch of C's, and I don't mean that in a derogatory kind of way. I've got Chris Cheng.
Hello.
Chris Dace.
Hey, hey.
And Caroline Oliveira.
Hello.
So, as I mentioned before, we're going to start off with the 1990 film Edward Scissorhands. That was directed by Tim Burton, written by Tim Burton and Caroline Thompson. And holy hell, is this a Tim Burton movie? Very first note that I have written down is just such a Tim Burton movie. So first off, to just give you an impression of how good or bad this movie is, our Rotten Tomatoes score is 89% for the tomato meter or the critics and 91% for the audience score. Audience a little bit higher than that, but basically around the same. What were your first impressions when you saw Edward Scissorhands, and was it for this, or did you guys had seen it before? Dave, I'm going to start with you.
When I first saw this movie, it was, probably around like 95, 96 when I was still a kid, and it was terrifying. Between him and Vincent Price, and it's a Tim Burton film, so of course it's scary just to begin with. But all the darkness and all that stuff, it definitely caught me off guard as a kid.
Chang, what about you?
When I first saw it as a kid, I didn't really pick up on all the weird Tim Burton things. I just saw it as watch this adorable monster kid fumble his way through this family. But then I watched it years later, and I was just like, I'm totally with the neighbors and the community that hates Edward.
Caroline, what's your first impression of the movie?
Well, I loved the movie. When I was growing up, I watched it so many times because I had so many medical problems growing up. I was always the different one in my family and my friends. So when I saw Edward Scissorhands, I was like, oh my god, it's like me, but not really, but kind of like me. I love this movie.
Just to clarify, your medical problems weren't that you had scissors for hands, right?
Yeah. Oh, you had the hands
for
are the problem.
feet, but
It's I had plungers. So, first question that I have for everybody. Do they ever tell you what his age is supposed to be?
Johnny Depp. That's what I assume. He's aged Johnny Depp.
He's aged Johnny Depp. But, is he supposed to be, 17 or something?
I assume, because it has to match up to Winona Ryder's age. So she was, 17, 18.
She's a senior in high school. They mentioned that.
Okay, yeah.
So he's got to be roughly her age, but I mean, he could be a couple of years older or whatever like that. But technically, he's kind of only a couple of years old, right? Because
he's only 3.
Yeah,
in robot boy terms, I guess.
Dog years, kind of.
Because it seemed the guy built them. I guess he had prototypes and got to the final model, but before the hand ceremony, he just kind of upped and died. So,
which that's another question here is. You didn't give the thing hands, but you gave him scissors for hands. And instead of, you just cut that step and we're I think I want to check out the scissors instead. But you also spent the time to read poetry to him, and it's give him hands.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
He needed to be different. He needed to be scary on the outside.
Why?
Because then the movie would make sense.
I know, but he just like it. Like I forgot who said it. It's the most Tim Burton thing. That's exactly like what Tim Burton thinks like the world is. It's like you're not ready yet.
Right.
You need scissors for hands. But
Yeah.
his priority for like doing it is really messed up because it's like I get if the world was like a post-apocalyptic future where like scissors for hands is like useful,
Right.
But it's like the suburban community was not going to come after them, so he didn't need weapons.
Edward Scissorhands Fury Road or something. But like we're also talking about an inventor that started out making cookies.
Oh yeah, that's right. I told you like skip that fact.
He's just like he's making cookies one day, some sugar cookies, and instead of thinking, maybe I'll switch it up and do chocolate chip, he's just kind of like, maybe I'll make a real boy. Like I'll go Pinocchio mode.
Is that like a chance most bakers do? Like, could that happen? Can some baker decide like I'm gonna make life, like real life?
I don't know. I can't even make cupcakes. If I was trying to make a person, I'd really fuck it up.
You forget the hands.
I'd turn out with Edward normal hands, and he would still be as much of a monster. I had a whole bunch of questions this time watching it. I mean, I've owned the movie for years, and I've seen it a couple different times and stuff. But this time, I already knew the whole story. I already knew how it ended and all that. And I was just looking for nuances. And another question I had was, what does he eat the whole time he's alone?
I don't think he eats, really.
Yeah.
Well, he eats in the movie.
Yeah, I think because he's trying it.
Yeah, but I don't think he needs to eat.
Like, does he have inside parts? Like, I mean, does he have a cookie for a heart? Because it was a heart cookie that made him have, like, the inspiration. Is he made out of cookies?
Is that the secret to, like, eternal life? Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, we should eat some more cookies.
I don't know. Vincent Price is kind of mysterious at that point, so...
Yeah, he built a machine to crack eggs and somehow comes out with a kid. And how does he use the bathroom, too? That's another thing.
I don't think he has genitals.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think... He's not a full real boy, which is, like, what proves my point later about my argument about the town kind of turning against him.
So if he doesn't have any genitals, then that really sucks for Kim.
Again, it's just for our own safety. That's why Jim is, like, the unsung hero.
But yeah, this does come off as a real Tim Burton movie. I mean, you got the creative person. He's, an artistic kind of thing with frayed black hair, and he's out of place in a pastel town and all that other kind of stuff. It's just like Tim Burton's really going for the teenage writing this in my journal type of story, isn't he?
It's a totally, like, 80s thing, too. Because the hairstyle and everything kind of reminds me of Boy George. And this is like 90s, like right as the 90s was like starting.
Yeah,
so
1990.
So just the fact that like a lot of probably the culture clash between gothic and like suburban preppy, like valley, I guess, and like jocks, like it just like this hodgepodge of countercultures.
Dace, what was your first impression when you looked at like the neighborhood? You get the slutty neighbor, the gossipy housewives. Everybody's got these like pink homes and stuff.
It felt like the Stepford sisters, or the Stepford
wives.
Stepford Cuckoos.
It was just very like, here's this dark, mysterious mountain up here where Vincent Price is hiding out with his creation, and then down here's the quote unquote perfect life, and then they mix the two, and that's when Frankenstein gets fucking chased out of town.
Yeah, and nobody in town ever goes, I wonder what's up with that mansion. So it's just kind of like, oh, there's that mansion up there that nobody goes to.
I'm pretty sure there's a zoning thing where it's like you have a housing development, and then up on the hills like this like gloomy ass mansion castle.
Caroline, your thoughts on the town itself? I mean, I can't imagine that was the type of thing that you were like, oh, I want to live there.
Oh God, no! Like that would be the opposite. Like take me to the castle anytime, not that town. I mean, it's like for a while when I was really young and I watched this movie, I thought that the United States was like that. I was like, oh my God, is that how it is? Because it's so different from Brazil, right?
Were you disappointed when you first came here?
Well, by then I watched so many other movies. I knew it wasn't really like that. It was more like Mad Max, New York City. Yeah, I mean, I I never really thought too much, to be honest. I never really thought too much about the city itself. Like, I always, like, thought about the neighbors the most. This slutty neighbor was, like, my favorite because she kind of reminds me of my aunt a lot.
Whoa.
Not that my aunt's slutty. It's just, like, the way she dresses. Like, just like my aunt.
Your aunt really needs to answer the question of whether or not Edward has genitals.
She'll probably send you to church if you asked her that. She's a very complex character.
Damn those TV programs. Note that I had written down here that I didn't notice until this time that I watched it, and it was one of the things that I found one of the funniest parts about the movie. Alan Arkin's character is so oblivious to everything that's going on. Like, I mean, the very first scene we see him in, she's already, his wife, I can't remember her name, Peg.
Peg.
She's already brought Edward into the family, and they're just eating dinner, and he's just kind of like, so Ed, what's up? Like, it's a consistent running joke throughout the whole movie that, like, Edward runs away at the end, and it's just like, hey, where's Ed going? All right, I guess I'll get him. So, teenagers, huh? Yeah, kind of fucked up, right? Here, have some lemonade. I loved his character. He's one of my favorite parts of the movie. But out of all the people that are side characters, we have a wide range of stuff. Cheng, you're talking about you identify with Jim the most because you identify with his...
Not the most, but I gotta get his, like, conviction and his, like...
You just support his point of view?
Up until a certain point, you know, then there's just like, no. Like, then he became, like, classic bad boy. You know, like, he kind of became too much of a bad boy.
Which is weird to think Anthony Michael Hall being the tough jock.
Yeah, just like 5 years prior, he was like the nerd guy in Breakfast Club, or 6 years prior, you know what I mean? So it's just like, what?
Steroids.
This guy. All it takes is like one leather jacket. Look at him now.
If he would have known that in high school, man, he wouldn't have been at that detention.
Yeah. But yeah, I get to a point where like he's really taken an interest because anyone you know brings over like a creature and is totally fine with it. Except for, like, Kim. She's, like, the reasonable, too. Like, what? Until she falls in love. And then it's, like, Jim's responsibility to, like, wake them up and be like, look at you. What the hell's going on, right? Like, because for all we know, this monster cast a spell on everyone, you know? Like, he's mind-controlling everybody. You know?
So that mind control scissors.
We don't know. I mean, come on. It's like, you can't... There's nothing else to base this on.
That's true. Days, who stands out to you as somebody that you would identify the most with? Is it Edward or is it somebody else?
In that town, probably the neighbor that just minded their own business and went inside the house.
The ones that at the end, when Jim dies, they're just kind of like, oh, sucks to be Jim. All right, you guys want to have barbecue or something?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd be like, yeah, that's their problem. I'm going to go back inside, play some video games.
So basically all the men in the town.
Yeah, I wouldn't care. But like, all right, he's got knives in her hand. So what? Just don't touch me.
Caroline, I'm assuming you're identifying the most with Edward.
Yes, absolutely. Oh.
I think I identify the most with Kim's brother, who's just like, how sharp are those knives? That's kind of cool. Can I bring you to show and tell? Let's see here. A couple other notes that I had down. Funny line that I thought was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I can't eat that. It's not sanitary. He used his hands when he's cutting it with the scissors. I thought it was really funny. Actually, I had another question that was going on here. If Alan Arkin staples fake snow to the roof, why does Winona Ryder say that it never snowed there before? How would they have any idea of what the fake snow is?
They must have TV to know
Yeah.
what snow is.
It doesn't snow in Florida, but Disney has this foamy thing that they throw out in the sky, and everybody's like, snow.
So it was supposed to be implying that it just had never snowed in that town before.
Yeah.
I always took it as that it never snowed, period, and this was like the tale of how snow became kind of a thing. I could be totally wrong.
I just think it's because it's California.
Yeah.
I just think that's why.
See, I pictured that it was... I didn't even think it was California. I thought it was Ohio or something, some random ass town, you know. That would explain a hell of a lot more than my point of view.
If it was Ohio, those people wouldn't look as posh. They would be way more farmery. You know what I mean? The fact they looked very preppy was the dead giveaway for me that it was the West Coast.
Well, we know it's not Fargo.
Right. It ain't Fargo.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, your hands, you know. Dace, I noticed specifically your snowman is in this movie.
He is, and that's why he's a special guest in a lot of our videos we shoot for.
When the old man asks if they caught him yet, just panning shot, and I'm just like, is that the same snowman that Dace has?
Yeah, it's the menacing snowman. That's why there's a backstory there.
So what are some other things that stand out to you guys about this movie? Any positives or negatives? Some favorite scenes, some least favorite scenes?
I guess this, for a Tim Burton movie, is a lot of like mature themes going on. You know, like there's a lot of like essential, like kind of rape claims, like violence. Like that doesn't happen in a lot of Tim Burton movies.
There's probably some subtext in A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
He did do Sweeney Todd too. That was very.
Yeah, that was way later, and that wasn't meant for a kids movie. Like this movie somehow became like a family movie.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he probably raped those kids. I don't know.
Well, yeah, his remake was crazier, but yeah, it's very Tim Burton-y and gothic. And like the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, a lot of kids like saw this movie, and I'm like, whoa, who's the target demographic for this when it was coming out?
Yeah, because it seems like it would be a standard PG-13 type of movie. It's got a horror kind of twist to it, but it's not a horror film. I don't know, it's weird. Like, you can't really place it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just ends up, like, I saw a lot of this movie in rental stores, just like family movies, that I'm like, is this the movie you introduce like a lot of adult concepts to your kids, where it's like, okay, like we're gonna watch this movie, then we're gonna have a talk.
So, what was Kim talking about when she said you can't always get Jim to stop whatever he wants to stop and all that? Does anybody know, kids? Raise your hand.
What did well, Jim's fault was getting drunk at the end. If he just didn't get drunk, that'd be kind of fine.
But did you guys really like catch on all that when you first watched the movie when you were a child?
No,
because I really didn't. Like even when he dies at the end, and I mean when the jock dies at the end, and it's like now I watched it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of like. But that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the Disney movies nowadays too. Like some of them are really scary and have like really like dramatic things that kids might be sensitive to. But as a child, I didn't really get all that. It's just like, that character is evil. He died. Good.
I think it's like a decade thing, because this is still off that like 80s kids movies versus like 2000s kids movie. There's a very big difference in storytelling, and like even just like having adult themes like this just like there. Apparently it's like, if you think about it, if Tim Burton really wanted to make this a horror movie, he could. All the elements are there.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, this really could. Like, if they wanted to do a remake and just do this purely on, like, the thriller kind of side, that would work.
Or, like, at the end, where, like, it's calm at the beginning, but at the end, his freak out is way worse.
You know, just have to cut out some scenes where, he cuts the dog's hair and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that scene.
No, you could still have, like, the charming, like, he's a misunderstood creature, but then at the end, it's just like, but he's still a creature. And, like, you know, have him, like, really start murdering people.
They're like, what's wrong? And he's like, I got fucking cookies for heart.
I would kill if I woke up and was like, what the hell? Like, I would just strangle things, you know? Like, when
I don't have any genitals.
Oh man, like that's it. Like, you know, you can't eat, you can't use the bathroom. Man, well, it's life after that.
Continually cutting your face. Ugh. Dace, anything stands out to you?
I'm not like a big fan of Tim Burton films, and still wasn't a fan of this one. Batman's pretty much it. And it's only like that one because it's Batman. So, yeah, I don't like Tim Burton.
I'm going to stick with you then. If you gave this a 0 to 10, what's your score?
I'll give it a 5. I mean, I did watch it a couple times as a kid, but again, I'm not a big fan of Tim Burton.
Caroline, what's your 0 to 10?
I'll give it a 7. I feel like, to me, interestingly enough, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan, believe it or not, but this one's definitely one of my favorite films he's ever done, so, and all the sentimental value, so a 7.
And Chang, what about you?
Like a 6. It like I'm a average. I don't know. I'm a okay Tim Burton fan. Like, I watch almost all things, and I get like his themes between his films. It's always about misunderstood things. Like, either between Pee-wee, Batman, like Edward, or Nightmare Before Christmas is always a theme of just, like, misunderstood or,
how dark everything is.
Yeah, how dark. And it's like you could have fun in it, you know, you could do something with it. But for me, like, it's always just like, I agree at this situation, the town is kind of right. Like, that's just why I'm like, yeah, they're kind of right after a while. Except for the whole, like, neighbor, like, the MILF neighbor that just kind of goes, like, boy crazy.
Yeah, she's really probably the creepiest character out of the whole bunch.
And she's the one who starts the chain of events, really.
Yeah.
And she gets, like, no backlash.
No, she's, like, praised at the end. Actually, no, the creepier person is that really religious woman.
Yeah.
She's just sitting there playing that organ. She's like, that's all you do all day? What the hell? Fucking weirdo. So, those are our thoughts on Edward Scissorhands. If you're watching this on YouTube, we've got 4 parts that you just got to click on to go to the next sections. If you're on iTunes and Stitcher, then you don't have to do anything because we'll be right back. But we're going to continue on in part 2 with Groundhog Day, so we'll see you there. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 22. It's time for us to go into Groundhog Day. 1993 is when that movie came out, and you would think that it would have come out every year since then and just repeating, but they decided not to do that. For those who don't know, the basic story of Groundhog Day is not like some kind of actual specific story of Groundhog Day, like we're gonna do the historical significance or anything like that. It's you have a guy who's caught in a blizzard and he's trying to do the news report for Groundhog Day, and the day keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. So the blizzard part is where it factors into the winter part, not the time travel, because we're not doing a time travel month. Maybe in the future we'll revisit Groundhog Day if we do that, I don't know. But as far as first impressions go, Caroline, what were your first impressions of Groundhog Day, and when's the first time that you saw the movie?
Oh, I watched it when I was young. It was one of those movies that for some reason kept playing on Brazilian TNT a lot. Like every other week they would play the movie. One, I had no idea that Groundhog Day was an actual thing. When I first watched it, I had no idea that you guys celebrated that or whatever.
Well, I'm
not
gonna
really.
cut you off real quick to throw this out there because you brought up a point that I didn't have in my notes to bring up later on or whatever. This movie, actually, they changed the title a bunch of times because in other countries they were like, nobody's going to know what the fuck Groundhog Day is.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called in Portuguese, but it was definitely not Groundhog Day.
There's like The Day That Never Ends, I think is one of them or something like that, and like it's all over the place with that. But anyway, continue what you were saying.
I can see that. I'm not a big comedy or romance fan, as you guys all probably know by now. But I do like Bill Murray a lot, so it was an alright movie.
Dace, what about you?
It's one of my favorite Bill Murray films when it comes to his comedies, even though some of his other stuff's starting to get a little weird. Or doing the comedy thing where it completely tricks you at the end and makes you feel something. I hate that. This one was great because it took a concept where it was going to repeat the same day every day for 2 hours, and it did well. I thought it was funny each time his day was repeated. So that was a concept that could have, if done wrong, could have been really bad.
Chang?
I'm like with a little bit with Gates on this, where it's like this is a good Bill Murray comedy. It's just like perfect '90s Bill Murray, where he's like the everyday man. I saw this movie when I was a kid on like on TV, also like TBS or TNT, whatever. It was like repeating this. I was too young to like see this in theaters. The thing about it was, I think this was billed originally as a comedy sci-fi movie because like it had that like almost like time travel element into it of like repeating the day. So I remember a lot of like TV station kind of marketing it like really strange. Like I kind of remember this on Sci-Fi too. Like it was just like it's kind of like a sci-fi movie, like Groundhog Day.
For our sci-fi movie trilogy, we're gonna do Alien and Terminator and Groundhog Day.
Oh, like it's a funny, like, because it is kind of sci-fi-ish for repeating the day over and over again to that degree.
A little bit. There's definitely some sci-fi elements that they cut out of the script, actually. Originally, the time loop was going to be caused by a former lover that is a witch. And she just cast a spell on him to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, like fantasy sci-fi. So, like, that kind of explains the whole loop. Because it seems like all you do is piss off, like, something and like Pittsburgh, and this is what happens.
Well, what do you guys think about that idea? Do you like it better where you don't know what the time loop is caused from, or would you rather have had some kind of an explanation?
I think it's being ambiguous made it better, because then
I agree.
You get into all those like time paradox things and all that stuff, and then it's just kind of like, ugh, Now I'm going to point out why that theory is stupid.
Well, some people even thought for a while that it was something about him actually being God, because he says in the movie, I guess I'm God. And then they were like, well, maybe this happens to every God. There's a theory out there that everybody's God, and that it's like, I wish I knew the theory the name of the theory off the top of my head, but I don't. It's basically revolves around every single person is a reincarnation of God, and you experience every possible life that has ever happened and ever will happen, because it takes all of that experience to understand the scope of what it would be like to be a god. So some people brought that into this, and it was just kind of like, well, that's way too fucking confusing. Just make it, he wakes up and hilarity ensues. Kind of.
I mean, I think this came out like right at the tail end of Scrooge. Like, Scrooge came out the year prior or 2 years. It's like the same thing of like Bill Murray being tormented by something, and he learns a lesson at the end, kind of thing.
Let's see, Scrooge came out 88.
Okay,
and this was 93, so a couple years later.
But it's like the same kind of like he becomes a better person by the end of it.
Well, originally the person who was going to play the character was Tom Hanks, and then they decided, no, he doesn't seem like much of a jerk. Get Bill Murray.
It takes a while for Tom Hanks to be like a jerk.
Because at the beginning of the movie, it would have just been like, oh, he's a nice guy. And then it's like he doesn't have any kind of emotional arc. He's just a nice guy who becomes nicer.
It's like Groundhog Day's one day.
Yeah, he just wakes up like it's a normal day, and it's like, what? I'm already a nice guy. And I already know everybody in town because I'm Tom Hanks. So what were your thoughts when it came to how long he spent with this loop? Because I've double-checked a bunch of different things, and there are basically 4 theories that are out there. So before I say what those 4 are, I want to go around here and see what you guys think. Cheng, what do you think was the amount of time he spent in that loop?
I mean, I kind of read a little bit, and I thought it was like at least 10 years. And 10 years makes sense for all the things he like became good at, just to like plan and learn.
Dace, what about you?
I would think at least a year or so. I mean, I never really thought too much into it. Just that, like Cheng said, you had to do it a couple times, well, a lot of times to get that good to stop people from falling in holes and shit.
Caroline?
I think like 2 years maybe, or 3.
So the 4 that I've come across online and through interviews and different things like that, the lowest amount was 7 to 10 years. Wow. Then it was 27 years. Then somebody did, I think it was like What Culture or whatever, they did the math of how many years it would take for them to learn certain tricks and stuff. Like he throws the cards and he learns how to play the piano. Their calculation for that was 33 years. But Harold Ramis originally thought upwards of 10,000 years.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, so that's like, I can't even imagine that.
I mean, if you think about the end, where he gets everything correct, like every possible scenario, where he's just like this town celebrity and an overnight sensation, basically.
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't be like the first time he pulled it all as like a giant hat trick. Like he had to like fuck up one time where it didn't go right at one point, so he had to probably repeat that process again.
Which I couldn't do that. I'd go nuts.
Right. So that's, even like I said, the piano part takes at least 10 years to get to like his level. So if you're playing for like an hour in that time, because he could only play that one lesson, like for that one piano teacher that he would just practice with. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I was like, okay, 10 years seems reasonable, but like 10,000 years, I'm like, yeah, that also could be. But at that point, like, like who knows what else you're good at.
And you got to imagine, if you're there for even 10 years, let alone 10,000 years or whatever like that, there's got to be so many days where he just doesn't get out of bed. He's just kind of like, nah, fuck it. I'm not going to do it today.
Well, there was that really weird montage where he starts killing himself. So like,
yeah.
That's my favorite part.
How kind of like dark is that though? I mean, he gets to a point where he's just kind of like, well, I guess I'm just going to throw a toaster in the bath, and I guess I'm just going to drive off a cliff. And I mean, I would get to that point too, I'm sure. And you got to imagine by that point it's been a couple of years if this is like the lowest amount is 7 years.
you might try to mess around every day to see what new horrors await you. But like, what if that was the key, and like then time moves on again? Like you had to kill yourself. Like that's just like
That would suck.
That's how you get out of this loop.
Is there anything that stood out to you guys as things that he didn't try in the movie that you would have tried to do? Because the first thing I thought of was technically the blizzard is blocking them from leaving the town because of the traffic. Why didn't he just start walking?
He did.
He did at one point?
He died.
Like
Yeah,
he tried
what?
walking out of the town?
Tried walking. And they found his body. In one of the montages.
Oh,
he tries to
yeah,
walk
that is
through it.
right. They did find his body and it was all frozen.
Mhm.
Huh. There goes that idea.
But it would have been like building, like using something better than walking into the blizzard, you know? Like it would be like, I don't know, steal a fire truck? Do you know what I mean? Like do something different, like get on a train.
Yeah, right? Apparently, my issues with these movies this month is I don't know what's going on with towns. I fucked up with the Edward Scissorhands thing. I'm fucking up with this town.
So, like, what's up with the community?
Yeah, that's the thing that's throwing me off in these movies. God forbid when we get to Frozen. Anything that you really would have wanted to do, though, if you woke up in this kind of position, Dace? Like, you know, would you go like, oh, man, I get to learn how to do this? Or, you know, he eats all the
Probably
cake and it's like...
a lot of murder and rape and anything illegal that you can get away with, because I'm just going to wake up tomorrow with a clean slate. Fuck it.
Just really take advantage of Nancy.
Oh, God, yeah. I would shoot things. I would shoot people and be like, oh, my bad. See you tomorrow.
Personal Grand Theft Auto game.
God, yeah. See if I can get 5 stars.
I don't think you can. They're out of town with the blizzards blocking the National Guard.
Well, it's going to be a very empty town when I'm done.
That's the goal, is to see if you can kill everybody in town by the end of the day when time resets.
Yeah, otherwise you got to do it again tomorrow.
Also, there's another question. If he stayed up, what would happen?
I think they tried it, but then they fell asleep, which is really bizarre because all they did was like not drink coffee and just like stare at each other.
Yeah, like I would just like make sure that I, you know, stayed up, which maybe that would like cause some other weird time loop and time would collapse on itself and the universe explodes or something. I don't know. Caroline, what would you do if you were in this position?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think. Knowing me, I will probably just stay in bed.
For 10 years.
And not do shit. Yeah.
A couple of notes that I had written down. Bill Murray was bitten by the groundhog when they filmed that scene in the car. Apparently right after they got done that shot, it just turned around and bit his thumb or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was just kind of like, oh my God, I really do hate fucking groundhogs. Psychiatrist asking, how's tomorrow for you? I thought that was great. How annoying is Ned?
He's annoying, but he's not like, he's a townie annoying, you know, like all he does is sell insurance to like the same people, I guess. So he's annoying, but like you can't help it. It's that town.
I don't know. See, he just got under my skin of the whole like, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Bing.
I would have shot him first.
I do love the punch though. It's just like Ned Ryerson.
Was that the Good Day streak? Like, was that the final end, or was that just?
No. The end is when he's signed up for all the different life insurance and stuff like
right,
that.
okay.
He's his best customer kind of a thing. I think that the punch is like when he gets to the point a little bit before the suicides where he's just like, oh, fuck this. Because really, how many times can you deal with Ned without just wanting to punch him in the face? Or kill him if you're Dace?
Yeah, there should have been like a murder thing. He doesn't harm anyone else.
Yeah, you should have killed Ned. Just one shot of him with like a revolver or something. Ned's dead body, and he's just kind of like, what?
Him
Bing.
giggling, just laughing, like, I did it.
Curious if he would have just shot the groundhog in one of the scenes too, you know? What did you guys think about the old homeless man?
Super sad.
Because it's apparently in the script he's doomed. There is no way for him to save his life.
No, I think that's why in the end he just ignores him.
Yeah.
In like the good version, the good ending.
Yeah, there's no, like, rewatching this. I mean, I had seen the movie a couple years ago, but rewatching it this time, I was just like, well, I don't remember them wrapping up anything about the homeless guy. And then when it gets to the end and they didn't, I was just like, oh, damn. So I looked it up, and apparently in the script, he was supposed to walk by with Andy McDowell, walk by his, like, dead body on the side of the road. And she was just going to be like, you know, is he? And he's going to be like, yeah. And he just drops off a poem that he, like, places on his body that is about, like, his thoughts on loss and how it's inevitable and all this, like, which if that would have been the perfect day, that would have been a really sad part of that day.
Let alone you had this prepared in your pocket, like you just
Yeah.
Here you go, dead person. Like
if you were Andy McDowell, wouldn't you be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You do that to like roadkill and people get upset. You can't do that to a live person, like a previous person on the street.
Like, is this random old homeless person dead? Yep, I know. And I wrote a poem ahead of time. You want to go get ice cream?
You want to go to this dance and then make out? Like, that's the good ending? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's, unless she's really morbid. She's like, ooh, look, a dead body. Like, let's go poke it. Like, oh, shit.
So, I didn't mention this before. The Rotten Tomatoes score is 96 and an 87. So, just slightly higher when it comes to that versus Edward Scissorhands. Although lower when it comes to the audience scores. I'm surprised about that one. But this is one of those movies that's widely acclaimed by a lot of different people. This was preserved in different museums and everything. And I like it a lot. I think I like this movie overall better than Edward Scissorhands. But I can't watch it as often. Do you guys kind of agree about that?
Yeah. I watch it every year, so.
On Groundhog Day?
Yeah. Well, not on Groundhog Day, but at least once a year.
You should just repeat it. But I think it's a solid movie. I didn't give my score for Edward Scissorhands. That was around like a 6 or so. I think I'd have to give this about a 7. But Caroline, what's your 0 to 10? And is there anything else that you want to throw out there? Favorite stuff, least favorite stuff, whatever?
I mean, I just really like the montage of him trying to kill himself. I feel like that was probably my favorite part of the movie. And the little groundhog. I'll give it a 5. I'm just like not into comedies. They don't warm our heart.
Cheng?
For me, like, it's an 8. Like, I love this movie. I've seen, like I'm like with Dace on this one. I see this movie like once a year. It's one of those things where you learn a little bit more about the movie almost every time. Someone always mentions like new facts or like favorite moments, and then I guess like some writer also like releases trivia. It's like, oh, by the way, then this happens. Like, what? Like, that took years to come out about the whole like curse, the like gypsy curse, whatever. So I feel like there's a very big cult around this movie, and I'm definitely part of it. I have never gone to like the ceremony though. That's actually on my list to do. Is actually go to that town and see Paul. What was it? The groundhog coming out of the stump.
The real one, or because they filmed it in a different town for the movie.
Well, like a one, like a ceremony of this thing.
Okay, yeah. The real town's Punxsutawney, but they apparently couldn't film in Punxsutawney, or they didn't like the look of it or whatever like that. So it's I think it's Woodstock, Illinois, if I remember correctly. And that town has taken over the idea that they're the real Groundhog Day town because of the movie. Like that part where Bill Murray steps in the puddle, they have a little plaque that says Bill Murray stepped here. It's like ridiculous how they do that kind of stuff. But
they turned into a tourist trap. It's awesome.
Yep. So anybody that goes to the town, it's like, this is the part where we film this part of Groundhog Day, and this is the part where we film this part, and this is where Bill Murray killed himself with this. That kind of stuff.
Then they get these like fans trying to reenact it.
Everybody just punches Ned Ryerson. Dace, what's your score, and anything else you want to throw out there?
I would give it an 8.5 because, again, it's one of my favorite Bill Murray movies, and I do watch it at least once a year. And the only bad thing about this movie is I can't listen to I Got You, Babe after the movie for at least 3 months.
Yeah, I can't listen to that anyway, but after the movie, you're really just kind of like, I'm going to mute this beginning part. When it gets to the part where he smashes the alarm clock, you're like, yes!
Ironically, it was not this movie that ruined it for me. It was like Look Who's Talking. Or like Look Who's Talking 2 had I Got You, Babe too.
Wait, which was the one with the dog? Was it 3?
That was Look Who's Talking. No, wait. Is that 3? No, damn it. What's the third one?
Look Who's Talking. The first one's the baby. The second one's a second.
2
baby,
babies.
Right?
Yeah, 2 babies. Because
Roseanne's one.
Roseanne, and then Look Who's Talking also.
Look Who's Talking Now.
Look Who's Talking Now.
That's
okay.
what it was. Yeah, I remember my sister and one of her friends, my mom, went to go see that. At the same time, I went to go see, I think, RoboCop 3, which was just like, yeah, fuck this. I want to go see a robotic cyborg blow people in half and shit. You can watch the one about talking dogs or whatever, you know? It's like,
Yep. You made the better choice.
I don't know. RoboCop 3 is kind of garbage. Tell us what you think about Groundhog Day in the comments below, everybody. We have 2 more movies to go through. Frozen is next. This is going to be interesting. Click on that if you're on YouTube. If you're on iTunes and Stitcher, then all you got to do is sit back, relax, and we will be right back in part 3. Welcome back to part 3 of episode 22. We talked about Edward Scissorhands and Groundhog Day. Go back and check them out if you haven't already. But part 3 is going to be Frozen. Came out in 2013. If you don't know what Frozen is, what rock have you been living under? Holy shit. I don't think I need to explain what this movie is about. Everybody knows everything about this movie, even if you haven't seen the movie. If you have any kid that's remotely close to you in your life, you know way too much about this movie already. Has an 89 score for the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter of the critics, and an 86 for the audience score, which is, you know, about the same on par of what we've been doing for these movies. They're all kind of like the upper 80s, lower 90s kind of. Frozen is a very, let's just say, it's a very popular movie, but it's also a very divisive movie. So this is going to be interesting to see. What are your thoughts on Frozen in general when it comes to how big of a phenomenon it is and your first reactions to it and everything like that? Dace?
It's terrible, and the people that like it are terrible too.
Well, you've got 2 young kids that are around your house all the time and stuff like that, but they're 2 young boys. So have they ever gotten into Frozen?
Yeah, unfortunately, Junior has.
Oh,
he
man.
is currently obsessed with it, and he tries to make me watch it, and I tell him that he's no longer my nephew. And that I like John better for the fact that he watches Frozen. My brother reinforces that fact, too, so hopefully we'll break him and he'll be a Star Wars fan in a few months.
Nice. Cheng, what about you? What was your first situation when it came to Frozen?
Alright, so don't judge me so much, but it's just a terrible event that led me to seeing Frozen. But it was just like a matinee was offering, like, it was like 2 weeks after Frozen came out, and me and another guy friend were like, hey man, like, let's go check out this movie. It's like a Wednesday afternoon, you know, let's go see it. And we went not knowing that, you know, freaking parents will take their kids out of school to see this movie. And so I was jam-packed full of, like, little kids and parents, and, like, we're the only people there, like, over the age of 20, like, you know, just men. And we're like, damn it. And it was one of those versions that had, like, the lyrics pop up.
Oh, God.
Oh, like the closed captioning thing?
Yeah, so everyone could
The
sing.
sing-along.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Damn it. Like,
oh, God, they have sing-along things?
Yeah, they have a sing-along?
Yeah, and it was, like, again, I waited. And I thought it was the perfect, you know, like, let the rush die out, and, you know, no one will see it. Wrong. You know, it was like an afternoon, so imagine either, like, parents took their kids out early, like, out of school, or, like, didn't take their kids to school at all. Like, they went to go see Frozen, so I was just like, what?
And they're just kind of like, what are these 20-something-year-old men doing here?
Yeah, and I'm just like, damn it, like, now people know, like, people, they see my face. So, like, that was, like, tarnished it, like, initially. But, like, I get it. It's a very, like, by-the-numbers musical movie. So I like some of the songs, yeah, but I don't, like, care for the plot. Like, the plot is just crazy. But it's aware, I think. Like, I think for most Disney movies, like, at least this one's kind of got a modern twist where, like, they're kind of aware of the tropes. So I give it some props for that. They didn't go all the way, like, classic Disney fairy tale story.
When we were picking our movies, Caroline, it seemed like you were most excited about Frozen.
I was, like, ready to sing because I like the music from Frozen.
Are you going to sing on this podcast?
I am not. I'm too awake for that.
I'm pretty sure, even though we don't have it to where people can leave comments yet because we're recording this not live, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to leave a comment saying that you need to sing. I'm speaking on behalf of them that you should sing at some point.
No. Only if Chang sings with me.
Oh, I need a lyric version again. I need like the words to pop up so I can ignore them and not stare at kids singing badly. By the way, if I wanted to like critique them at the end, be like, "You kids suck. You're not kids, Bob."
Oh.
Wanted to say that to a bunch of kids, but I know that's how you get kicked out of a theater and put on a blacklist.
But the music hits you in a certain way, Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not my favorite Disney movie. I agree with Chang. It does have like some really good points to it. I get it why it's popular. I took my mom to watch it because whenever a movie like this comes out, since I don't have a child, and my mom is visiting, I take her, and she loves it. So I get why it's popular. I don't think it's a horrible movie. It's not the best, but I like the music. I think Let It Go, just like, I don't know if it's like just because I'm overly sensitive sometimes, but it spoke to me.
So when I first saw any kind of a preview or anything for this movie, it was, a couple months before the movie came out. I'm at a movie theater that I don't normally go to, and I was watching something else, and I can't remember what else it was that I was watching. I want to say maybe it was the second Hunger Games, but my timeline might be completely off. I don't know. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, this kind of looks like it sucks. Like, are people going to go nuts over, like, this kind of shitty snowman? Like, whatever. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I actually didn't even think that it was Disney at first. I thought that this was DreamWorks. Because there seems to be a real discrepancy between DreamWorks and, like, Disney Pixar. Usually Disney Pixar movies are things that I'm like, oh, damn, that looks pretty damn good. And the DreamWorks ones are the ones where I go, I think I can kind of skip that. So out of nowhere, a couple months goes by, the movie gets released, and it's a phenomenon. And I'm like, holy shit, that's the movie with a snowman that I thought sucked? Like, where did this come out of nowhere? And it's, breaking box office things. And I've got 2 nieces and a nephew, and I just, for the past couple of years, that this has been out, like, my one niece in particular, she loves Elsa, so it's like, I go over there, like babysitting or something like that, and it's like she's got this Frozen thing and this Frozen thing and that Frozen thing, and it's like, oh, look at this is Elsa and this is whatever, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this movie because I kept putting it off. I didn't want to watch this, and I think it was 17 minutes into the movie, I posted a message on Facebook, and I just said, this movie sucked. And thankfully, I will admit, it got better, but I got a huge problem with different parts of this movie. I'm going to pick apart some of this, and I want to get your opinions if I'm just completely cynical or what. Do you guys agree that it's completely rushed?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the plot?
Yeah, like one of my least favorite parts of the whole thing was the prince, I'm blanking on his name now, the bad guy.
Hans?
Hans.
Yeah. He bumps into her, he catches her so she doesn't fall, and then they just start dancing. It's like, that's what would happen.
Yeah, but like...
But it's a Disney movie, Tony.
Yeah, so, and that's why Elsa's kind of like, you can't just do that.
Well, I did like when they would pull those, like you said, that they were subverting some different tropes, and that was nice when it was like Elsa just going like, you can't marry somebody you just fucking met, and it was like, all right, good. Elsa has a, solid head in her brain or whatever like that.
Even though she's like this antisocial queen.
Yeah, but it was like stuff
Nothing
like
wrong with that.
Bugged me. Like, somebody called me out on it on Facebook, and they were like, oh, it's a kid's movie, and I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't stop Aladdin from not having as many plot holes. Or like The Lion King or Toy Story or WALL-E. You know what I mean?
Okay, so the whole, you want the romance to last longer? Was that your issue?
I kind of wanted, maybe would have had like 1 or 2 more scenes for a lot of different parts of the movie to kind of justify it a little bit more. And they could have cut that first song, because that song sucks. That one about the blocks of the ice.
Oh, like this is how they make their money? Like cutting ice?
Yeah,
but
just
it sets up the community how they depend on the ice, though. So it's weird. Like, there's a lot of pros and cons of having things. Like it introduces Sven. Like it introduces like this boy who's raised by rock trolls. So it shows them that again, like the community we mentioned in the beginning is terrible.
Oh,
like,
they're horrible.
If royalty, the parents are terrible for raising their kid differently. like to outcast their own child in a weird way. And then it's the community that, you know, the royalty rules over. They're terrible because there's an orphan ice boy that like they just lose track of, and they're just like, whatever, like he'll die in the woods. It's nature.
Hey, we cut ice. We don't watch kids.
Yeah, apparently, whatever.
Go to the fucking rock trolls. They'll deal with you. Are we supposed to believe that Elsa was locked up in her room the entire time, or did she leave that room?
I think it was like she was always supervised when she left. Right? Like, because she had to leave at some point to do things, like outside to show the community that, like, she's still alive. Because she couldn't, like, tweet, you know, like, she things. She had to go outside. Because apparently they're all about, like, ceremonies. They take ceremonies really serious.
Well, I mean, we know that Elsa and Anna haven't seen Anna, I should say. People are like, it's Anna, not Anna. They haven't seen each other for years. So they've kept the two of them apart, but I was like, I don't know if that really implies that she's just in the room all the time and like somebody just brings her food and she's got a bathroom in there or whatever.
Chamber pot. Yeah.
Or if that, like, every time that Elsa needed to leave that room, they're just kind of like, Anna, now you get locked up in the room or whatever like that.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I thought that she was. I thought that she locked herself in that room and she was there forever until.
Well,
the big like festival or whatever.
Here's where I get into the same argument I had with Edward Scissorhands. So, if I was an idiot for that, I'm surely an idiot for this. If she's locked up in that room all the time, and then she goes off and she builds that ice castle or whatever like that, you know, like, what's she doing for food? She's by herself.
They bring her food.
In the ice castle?
Oh, the ice castle. Oh, I see. She makes popsicles.
She probably, like, killed things with her ice powers. Like, she probably hunted. It's the forest. They're not going to show you that scene, because she could definitely hunt with, like, the ice powers.
Yeah. Hello.
Do you want to kill some bunnies?
I mean, she doesn't have to, like, stab them. She could just freeze them to death and then thaw them out.
Well, she can create life. She created Olaf. So maybe
True.
she can create animals that she can eat.
Snow animals. Who knows?
I kind of thought the Do You Want to Build a Snowman song was kind of sad.
Yeah.
It needs to be sad. Oh my God.
Like, that was where I was just kind of like, well, this is a little ridiculous that they're locking her in the room, but I'll buy into it because it's sad, and it's kind of like the beginning of Up, where you're just kind of like, all right, well, hit me with the feels, and then we'll move on.
Right, okay, but, like, the parents didn't die yet during the You Want to Build a Snowman, right?
Right, yeah.
So the parents
they died during it.
Right, but, like, during it, for the first few verses, the parents are staring at this kid singing through a keyhole.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Horrible parents.
Horrible parents.
Like, they're not just going, oh, man, like, our children really should, you know, still kind of know each other.
All because she threw a snowball at her head. Like, that's what started this whole mess.
Yeah, like, you know, just don't let her do it anymore. You know?
Yeah, she doesn't really do it again until, like, later, but, I mean, up to that point, it's like, just wear gloves. Whatever. Yeah, this is the argument of, do violent video games turn kids into killers, or does bad parenting? Bad parenting led to this incident, not magic. Screw those parents. I'm just trying to figure out, like, why didn't they, like, let the troll, like, help her further? Like, the troll knew the power, it cured Anna, and they're just like, bye. We're not going to talk about this, or have an agreement that, like, we can blackmail you, this royal family, that your daughter's a witch.
They're like, oh, that's awesome. Thanks. See ya.
And no song for them.
Let's see what else I have down here. No effort at all in establishing who that one villain was, where he just gets introduced and says, like, I'm a villain. Oh, did I say that out loud? That was the point where I stopped the movie and typed out the status about it sucking. It was just like, really? This is how cheap we're going to go? And then we've got For the First Time in Forever song. Don't start writing these songs for Valley Girl idiots. Like, is the next Disney movie going to have a song that's I Can't Even right now?
Probably, if it stars, like, modern day.
Ugh. But
we talk about, like, the Weasel guy.
Yeah, the dude with the mustache.
I bet that he's like, that was the obvious thing, though. It was like the red herring. But it turns out they're just both evil. Like, it wasn't like, oh no, he's actually a good guy. No, he's just still evil. There's more evil people, apparently.
I will give him credit for me not liking the prince and then it turning out that he's not supposed to be likable. I'll give him credit for that. They pulled that off. It was just kind of like, I don't really like this Hans guy. Oh, good, I'm not supposed to. Instead of just being like, oh, he's a dick that I'm like,
Well, and again, it's another twist where it's like, for young kids introducing to like fairy tales, it's kind of like, oh, like not every prince is like a good guy.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was clever, but not too clever. I'm like, fuck yeah, Disney! Like you really knew how to M Night me.
It all turns out that the only reason that it's frozen is the trees did it.
Oh God.
Wait, what?
Happening?
Oh yeah. I thought it was just the snow. Like this whole thing was just winter will kill you.
Yeah. Well, even though they've got like a town where they export ice. Yeah. Dace, what do you think about the music as far as like the good songs, the bad songs? Which ones? How would you rank them, sort of?
They're all terrible songs, and people who like them are terrible people.
Oh, I'm terrible then. I
Sorry.
like the songs.
They're terrible. Okay.
They're not.
I've heard covers of Let It Go that are better than the very.
I mean,
Mel
I
Brooks
don't
female.
care for how like it's sung in the movie, but the lyrics are cute.
Hey, make sure you say her name right. She's the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem. The hell was Travolta thinking with
Scientology. Yeah.
Dina Menzel, Adele Dazeem. What?
Adele
Like,
Dazeem.
that's like just a mindfuck of dyslexia. Oh god, it was even more awkward the next year when he apologized and he was just like groping her face the whole time. Like,
Yeah. Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's super weird.
Caroline, what's your favorite song and your least favorite song?
My favorite, I think it's Let It Go, and my least favorite, probably the Ice one. I didn't care for the First Time in Forever as well. I guess I just really liked Let It Go and Do You Want to Build a Snowman, because for months, like I couldn't get that song out of my head.
Were you just like walking down the street in New York humming Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
Do you want to build a snowman? There, I sung.
Cheng, how do they rank for you? What's the best and worst?
Like Let It Go is like the definite song of the movie. It's kind of like show you the world I can show you the world, from Aladdin. So it's that like level, I think, of people just like, it's catchy. It's something you could sing a lot. People join in if you start it at the time, at least. And for me, I think, the Fixer Upper song is just weird.
Oh,
I
that's
like
a
it,
weird one, yeah.
but it's not my favorite of it. But like, other than that, like it's still like other songs are like it has meaning. The Fixer Upper one was definitely like super musical comedy out of nowhere. Let's do these crazy like things. But it was again like the music isn't bad, but I imagine if you're like listening to it for like a week, you can probably go nuts. And I understand where Dace kind of like lost like all respect.
She sang on like 18 live events within 2 weeks of the movie's release. It's terrible.
Yeah, like for me, I saw that one time in theaters with kids, and then I was like, I gotta really stick away from Frozen for a while. Like, I gotta change my identity. Like, so that's why for me, Frozen was like very paced out. But I imagine if like you're with kids and they're insane with it, like, oh crap, they're probably gonna own the weird Disney CD of it.
Yeah. Then they're gonna want you to sing along, and then can't do it.
Oh, see. Yeah.
I will say though, I did like mostly the four characters that I like the best of this. I like Sven because it's hard to not like Sven, right?
Sven's
He's just
awesome.
a cute little reindeer. Olaf was better than I thought he was going to be, but he was a little bit annoying too. Like, kind of struck me as the type of thing where whenever they do the sequel, they're going to do a sequel. It's a guarantee. This movie made way too much money for them not to be like, let's do Frozen 2, even if they just do a huge cop-out.
Yeah, they are doing one. They're making a sequel.
Just even more Frozen.
Probably.
Olaf strikes me as the type of character that could get annoying as shit in the second one.
Well, Josh Gad's annoying as shit, too. So.
That's true.
Like, this is very Josh Gaddy acting. I saw him in The Wedding Ringer, and he just looks the same. Like, he sounds the same to me.
See, I hadn't seen anything that he was in other than Frozen, except for Pixels. And I forgot that it was Josh Gad, but I was watching this movie and I'm just kind of like, this voice sounds familiar, and something seems familiar about it. And I do agree, this is very Josh Gad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a parody of himself. I feel like his nerdy side, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that next time they're going to try to go even more crazy with that, and that's going to get a little bothersome.
Yeah, they're probably going to do something with him. It's because he's such a weird, like, lovable goof that they see. So they're probably going to market something about him now, like direct, where it's like he's trying to find like something. I'm just just guessing what the sequel could be, and it's gonna be way more Olaf
and the Icicle Twins or something like that. Like,
yeah, because when I looked at him, I was like, oh, it's like an inbred snowman. Like, this is what I think an inbred snowman would look like.
It's like Forrest Gump.
Bro, it's like hills that have eyes, like inbred snowman design. Like, he's got a giant nose and an overdeveloped mandible. Like, I'm like, that's what inbred looks like.
I'm not a smart snowman.
He wants to always like be near like heat element that can kill him. Like,
yeah,
oh
dumbass.
No. So I'm just like, oh god, like that's inbreeding.
That should be the story of the sequel. It should be Anna gets powers of intense heat and makes it to where everybody's just like, the town's in a heat wave.
It's just
and Olaf is just like, fuck,
I'm dying.
This sucks. Why can't we go back to the snow? Kristoff, pretty good character, I think, for, sort of the runt that becomes the good guy, I guess. I liked Anna the best, though, I think. I liked how she was a normal person. She had flaws.
I like Elsa.
Everybody seems to like Elsa, but I don't know, I kind of thought that she was weird.
Like, and she's kind of bitchy. I like that. Anna just annoyed me. Like, she's too happy, even though her situations shouldn't call for that. Like, I guess that's a good thing. I guess it teaches kids to be happy regardless, but I didn't buy it. Like, I call that bullshit. Like, she annoyed me.
She deserved to lose the kingdom if she was going to be queen.
That bitch in her gloves. What do you guys think about any kind of like lines that stood out as something funny or anything that's like, a real good thumbs up, or in Dace's case, the one thing in particular that you hate other than the music? Because I got to agree, Let It Go was annoying as shit.
My favorite thing was the credits.
Caroline, anything stand out to you?
I don't know. Like, I like Sven. I like whenever they make him act like a dog, or when he tries to eat Olaf's nose because he deserved it.
He deserved it.
Sven was my favorite. I feel like a little kid now.
Anything on your end, Cheng?
I had that theory where like she was so outcast from like when Elsa was outcast from like society by hanging out in a room. When she like finally gets the freedom to like make her own ice palace. Like, she gets crazy, like, sexy for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, transformation scene always, like, stood out where I was like, wait, what? Like, what Disney animator took over at this point? That, her dress changes. She wears makeup now. Like, I'm like, what? Like, it's such a violent shift in, like, tone. I'm like, wait, where did she get inspiration for Elsa? You think about it. Elsa didn't really hang out with people. So, how does she know to do this? How does she know to make a dress now?
And how does she make a dress if her power is to just create snow?
Yeah, again,
I don't remember Iceman ever doing that.
But like everything else kind of makes sense if everything's made out of ice. Her dress is like fabric, and I'm like, what? So that for me has always stood out. I'm like, that's awesome, but like not explained.
I do know what you mean though about the whole like her like sexual awakening kind of happens, because it's just like, I mean, Anna does it too. Anna's doing the whole, do you want to build a snowman? And then it's like, well, we got this party coming up. I hope I find a guy.
And then she's like, I found a man.
Yeah, like the very first thing she wants to do is just like jump some dude's bones. And then Elsa does a whole song of like, well, I guess I'm mature now, and let me like wink at the camera, basically. And it's just like,
see,
it's uncomfortable.
when you listen to the song by itself, it means one thing, right? But when you see that whole animation with like the context before it, you're like, wait, what? And like, she's like, it's like 17 or 18 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like, she's not an older, like mature lady. She was like 7 in the beginning. It's only been 10 years. So that's why I'm like, whoa, this is weird now.
I had one note that was down, and since it's been a couple of weeks since I saw this, I don't remember exactly what the joke is, but I wrote it down as my favorite thing in the entire movie, which was I passed a kidney stone. Anybody remember what that was?
I passed a kidney stone.
I want to say that it was probably one of the rock trolls said it, because that would be, the pun.
Yeah, because it's a stone joke.
I just don't remember what it is, but apparently I liked it enough that I stopped the movie at that time to write down that was my favorite part.
I think it's a fix 'em upper. It's somewhere in that song.
Oh, maybe it isn't that.
But you know what I mean? Like no kid's gonna appreciate the whole song because no one understands what like a fixer upper is in relationship terms.
Or passing a kidney stone.
No kid should ever pass a kidney stone. Let me tell you that.
So 0 to 10 rankings. Base, how far on the 0 does this rank?
0.0001.
Oh, gets that 001.
Yeah.
Not 0001?
For the credits.
Those awesome credits.
Font was amazing.
Caroline?
I'll give it a 5. I think that it's definitely not the best Disney has done, but I did appreciate the fact that we haven't talked about this, and I guess I'll just talk about it now. The whole like, oh, only a kiss from your true love a true love will set you free or will save her. And everybody's expecting, oh, of course, like he's gonna go, he's gonna kiss. Oh, and there's like ambulance. Sorry, guys. He's gonna save her. He's gonna kiss her, and it turns out it's like a sister's love, and that's like such a nice thing to teach kids. Like you don't need a man. You just need to always remember your family will be there for you. I think like that's really sweet.
Just on the other side of the door. Actually, Maleficent sort of did the same thing. And I saw that when it was in theaters, so by the time this came along with Frozen, I was just kind of like, oh, I've seen it before, even though this came out before. Chang, what's your 0 to 10?
Like a 5. It's in that borderline where it's tolerable, but it's like I like it because the modern themes it wasn't going to go full like fairy tale. Everything's awesome. Like there's no struggle. The sister love thing was different, like which I'm like, like cool. Disney is actually expanding some of like the themes. So, but you understand, like this is based off an even older fairy tale story about the Ice Queen. That like I think depending on which version you read, the ending's different, but.
Those stories are always so much darker.
So much darker. So that's why I'm like...
Yeah, they're not for kids.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, for what the material came from, like, it still did a decent job.
Doesn't, like, Cinderella end with the stepsisters getting their eyes plucked out by birds or something?
Yeah.
And dancing with fire shoes.
Huh.
Yeah. Ariel cuts off her own tongue.
Really?
When she's, like, making a pact with with Ursula. She cuts her tongue off. And
she doesn't actually end up with Eric. She actually kills him.
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks.
And then she dies. I think she turns into sea foam or something.
Yeah, it's like, that's why the ocean's this way, because of the Legend of the Little Mermaid, because, like, sea foam can only, like, be on the edge of the beach. That's as far as it can go. That's the same, like, it's, like, something really fucked up about beach lore.
They're all depressing. Like that, though. They're all about, like, cannibalism and violence and all that.
So Disney does not have the balls to ever go that direction.
Well, clearly the version of Frozen had to have been that, like, Olaf burns alive somehow, even though he's snow and he would melt. They make him, like, solid enough to burn at the same time. And Anna probably gets murdered by Hans, and Sven is, like, somebody's meal. Like, just,
Actually, I think, like, the story is, like, villagers kill Elsa for making it snow so much. And, like, the Elsa and Anna aren't sisters, so it's okay for her to die. So it's just super weird.
It turns out that the mustache twirling dude is, like, the hero. Again, we killed that bitch, and now it's not snowing anymore.
You know how I defended Jim back in the Edward Scissorhands part? It's the community is just like, this monster is fucking up everything. And unlike Edward Scissorhands, this woman is killing people with snow. And, like, if they didn't kill her, right, people would have died. Like, the whole town would have been frozen to death.
So that's it for Frozen for us. Leave your comments below, and we're going to continue on in the very last part here, part 4, Snowpiercer. Click on that if you're on YouTube, and sit back and relax if you're on iTunes and Stitcher. Alrighty, guys, we are on part 4 of episode 22. We did Edward Scissorhands, Groundhog Day, and Frozen. Go back and check them out if you haven't already. Let's get into our final one here, Snowpiercer. This actually came out in 2013 as well, but kind of 2014. So we're going with 2014, because why not? That's the U.S. release date, and that's what's better, right? Sure.
That's what counts. USA.
Even though this movie is like completely, it's based off of a French book, and it's got a Korean director or whatever, and it's just all over the place. So all of them, they get the credit for it, not us. But we do have Captain America, so that's what ends up winning out here. This movie has a 95% rating on the tomato meter, which is our second highest one. The only one that's better than it is Groundhog Day with 96, so it's just 1% lower than that. But it has the lowest for the audience score, only 72. All the other ones were 80 or above, 86 or above, actually. So that's kind of curious now that there would be that much of a split that it gets, the critics like it more than the audience does, especially compared to the other movies that we've been talking about. Where does this fall on your scale, Caroline?
I actually like this movie. I'm very intrigued to read the comics that it was based on, because the one thing that I felt in this movie was that it was such a rich world. Like, this world is so interesting, the whole train situation, the classes, how it works, that I wanted more of it. I wanted something extra that the movie didn't give it to me, but I think that if I read the comics, I'll probably be pleased. I liked it.
Now, Dace, you unfortunately weren't able to watch all this movie, correct?
Correct. But it still wasn't as bad as Frozen.
So just so everybody knows, how far along in it were you able to get?
About 5 minutes. But still better than Frozen.
So spoilers for Dace. He's going to learn about everything that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
I hear he has an axe instead of a shield this time.
Cheng, what was your first reaction to this?
It was really bleak for me. So when I first saw it, I was just like, I didn't get all the deep symbolism. Like, I was just watching it just to like see it, the action, and like how the like why a train is this weird world, and like it took me like at least a few viewings to actually like really start liking it and really understanding like kind of like the almost like mature aspects of it. That like that's why I understand like the critics are looking for like deeper meaning and symbolism, like, but like the average audience are just like, that's a lot of subtitle I'm reading. Like, I can see like that being an issue for Americans,
especially if you're on the sing-along version.
Just lyrics pop up and I'm like, oh no, oh, where am I?
Do you want to build a Snowpiercer?
Aww.
Want to build a train?
So I really wanted to see this movie when it was advertised and didn't get around to it. I just was one of those situations where I forgot that the movie was going to come out, and a couple months later I was just like, oh shit, it's out on DVD, and just didn't buy it, didn't download it, rent it, whatever the case may be. Watching it for this time around, I was disappointed, actually. I wanted this to be so much better, but I spent the entire movie thinking of just the sheer implausibility of everything. That drove me nuts. Like, there's so many things in this movie that I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Wait, no, that doesn't make any sense. And then I couldn't get into it because of that. And that bugs me that I couldn't, because I think if I could have just turned my brain off, I would have enjoyed this so much more. But I also found myself just wanting to skip to the end. Like, they built up this idea of the end of the train, and the journey toward the end of the train, to the front of the train, not the end of the train, because they were already in the end. I really just wanted to know what was at the beginning of it. And when we're taking these little pit stops through, like, the rich people have their orange grove, and they've got the pool where they're hanging out, and we got the ravers and all that. I was just kind of like, yeah, can you just get to the front of the train already? Like, I really wanted to know what was at the front of that, and that was it. So I totally agree with you, Caroline, when it comes to the world building, that was interesting, but was there any point in this where you were just kind of like, wait, how do they do this? Where do they go? Like, where are they sleeping?
Oh, me?
Yeah, like any of those, like, did that bug you at all? Like this idea that they didn't
No.
kind of plan that stuff out?
No, I'm not. I feel like I'm not as logical as you are when I watch a movie, Tony. I'm just there for the experience. And for this movie, it was all about experience. Like, I wanted to be in that train. It kind of felt like a video game sometimes for me.
Oh, that's actually a note that I do have down here. It's good that you brought that up. This is totally a video game movie.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I loved it. I was living for the whole, like, different parts of the train, and they only have sushi once a year because of the ecosystem. It's like, that's so cool. Like, I love that stuff. But then I don't think about, like, do they ever stop and go to the bathroom? Like, do they go to sleep? Like, I can't. My brain doesn't go like that.
That actually is another note of mine of where's the bathrooms. But yeah, this is a video game movie for sure. They've got different levels and they've got boss fights.
Yeah.
Like, this is more of a video game movie than Pixels.
I didn't watch Pixels. I have no idea.
Don't waste your time. It sucks.
It is Oscar awarding.
Sean Bean doesn't die, so it's totally worth it.
One of the standout moments to me in this movie was something that they didn't build on because they actually did a twist later on that kind of invalidated what I thought was actually kind of cool was the frostbite amputee.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be something that they had done that multiple times, and that's why the one guy, Gilliam, that's why he had like no fucking limbs. He was like an umbrella arm and a fucking whatever he had for a leg or something. I thought that's why he did that, and I thought that was such a cool punishment. And then, of course, the twist, spoilers, is that he cut off his own arm and he gave that to people to eat instead of eating each other.
Babies, yeah.
Which, guess you weren't expecting that happening, right, Dace?
Nope. Missed it.
Cannibalism is part of this movie, apparently.
Yes. Woo.
Where we learn that babies taste best.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah,
Such a
tender meat.
weird line coming out of Chris Evans.
Which, I don't know if maybe this is just the bad guy in me, whatever. Very first thing I thought of was, well, veal is better.
Oh.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't eat meat, but that makes sense. Why do you want to eat old humans when you can have like fresh, tender,
Fresh baby.
hairless?
Right off the vine. Before they've spoiled.
Yeah.
You can get comments about like, are you guys really talking about baby meat more than anything else?
Well, I mean, this is why veal's awesome.
Veal is great. I recommend it to anybody.
Ugh.
If you didn't know what veal was and you tried it, you would just be like, this is the best
No,
cutlet of
thank
anything
you.
I've ever had in my life.
I know
No,
it is, and I like
so
it better.
much. I called well in advance that a couple characters were gonna die. Were you guys in the same boat? Or
Yeah.
the same train, I guess?
Yeah, aw, Tony.
I was shocked about some people, like some big, like, you know, the lesser known actors are just fodder, but then like, you know, the known actors I kind of know from other things, the recognizable people, when they died, I was like, whoa, like really? That was really like harsh.
See,
I
Jamie
think
Bell.
the way they died too was kind of shocking because some of them just get shot and that's it. They just
Yeah.
like go.
Yeah, Gilliam just shot in the head, and Octavia Spencer, like, I don't even know what she dies from. She died from getting like slammed into that.
I
sauna?
think she gets shot.
She gets shot, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's shot. Okay. Because I just remember they were like kind of like scuffling around, and then she was just kind of like, ugh. And I'm like, wait, what?
I think she was wrestling for the gun.
Yeah.
She's like, Ra's al Ghul's plan is done. Jamie Bell, though, as soon as they introduced him, I was just like, well, he's dead.
Yeah, I was
He's a
kind
bummer.
of surprised when he died.
And I wanted that amputee father to die at that point instead.
Yeah, he made it far for a guy with one arm on that
Right.
train.
Like, I was thinking part of me was going, all right, well, maybe they'll kill off Chris Evans and Jamie Bell will be the survivor. Like, maybe that's the trade-off kind of thing. But as soon as they did kill Jamie Bell off, I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, all right. Well, nobody else is safe.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part was I had to remember like names because when Jamie Bell gets killed, it's like 20 minutes later, when he explains like why he's now like sad and the baby tastes good part pops up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, he ate his mom. Like
yeah, that was that whole twist, which was just
Yeah.
kind of like a little skeevy. For him to be like, well, Edgar's dead, but man, I wish I could have eaten him instead.
look at all that meat we left behind.
School indoctrination. What did you guys think about that whole thing? Wilfred is divine and merciful, and
That remind me of Battle Royale so bad.
Oh yeah.
Of that video that they play when the kids first get into the school and they're already like ready to play the game. They don't know what's going on. And it's all cheery, but it's so creepy at the same time. It's awesome. I loved it.
Now, admittedly, I've never seen Battle Royale.
Oh,
it's on my
okay.
list. I gotta check that out.
It's really good. With no spoilers whatsoever, but they play this video about like how the game is gonna be played, and it's hosted by this really like cute, friendly Japanese girl, and she's like very like childlike, kind of like how the teacher is with the students in that scene. So you remind me of that. It was cute.
Is there a part where they start singing if like in this movie Snowpiercer, it's the whole if the train stops, we're all freezing and dying and whatever. That was one of the parts in the movie where I was just kind of like, I don't know what the hell I'm watching anymore.
Well, that's like North Korean propaganda. Just that's what it is.
Yeah,
At
that's
that
true.
level. Because over this movie's directed by like a bunch of Koreans, so this is their like jab at like communism in a weird way.
Joon-ho Bong. He was credited as Bong Joon-ho because the whole switch over kind of thing.
And then like everyone else who helped produce this was super Korean.
And then of course out of everything for it to be based off of, it's a French thing. Le Transpersonnage, not even gonna try that. But Kang Ho Song or Song Kang Ho, whatever that is, one of the main characters, Nam or Nam. You've got the supposedly kind of clairvoyant 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's supposed to be. She's actually clairvoyant.
It's actually it's explained. No, it's actually explained more in the comic. Was that like the kids who grew up on the train, like whatever generation, their hearing got really good because they have to ignore like all the train sounds, so they can actually like hear what's behind like other, like they can hear further than normal. So they can hear beyond like corridors. So that's how they're able to just like look and like just pay attention.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that makes sense, but like you don't get that from like the visuals here. But in the comic, it's kind of like, oh, my hearing's really awesome. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in the movie that I can remember that ever pointed to that. It was just kind of like, so can you like tell the future? Meh, I don't know.
She's terrible at it for like what happened.
It's I don't know if again, this is just maybe it's the bad guy in me or whatever like that. Part of me really, really wanted Curtis to take Wilfred's place at the end. Like, just for real, be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony.
It's like...
He was so disappointed.
You know what it is? It's that, like, symbolism of, like, taking up authority. You know, like, you just follow along the path that, like, makes sense. Like, that is, like, what is kind of laid out for you. Or do you carve out your own kind of thing? Because that's basically what happened. Was, like, he rejected that, like, lifestyle. So he decided to try something different. Which was going against the whole society of, like, train society. But yeah, like, that would have been, like, the safer choice. Just to, like, become the new Wilfred.
Because he, like, basically doomed mankind by saying, nah. I mean, we're down to 2 people at the end and a polar bear. That ain't gonna work.
Well, another thing is, like, is the train the only thing in the world? We don't know. Like, you know, was there another survivor community? Because, like, it was supposed to be, like, there was supposed to be nothing, not even polar bears. But the polar bears was to, like, say, like, there's life somewhere else. 'Cause what's the polar bear surviving on?
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be kind of funny if, like, there would have been, like, post-credit scenes, and there's, like, another group of people, and they're like, hey, there goes that train again. It's a normal town. They're like, man, that train's been going around for, like, 20 years. I wonder who's driving it. I don't know. Fry up another steak.
It's just like this one circle the train goes around is just terrible. Everything else kind of like got over it and became like thrived.
Yeah, it's like if you were stuck in the monorail at Disney World, and there's like other states entirely that are perfectly fine. Just Disney World got fucked up, and that was it.
Yeah, and they just think the whole world's cut off.
Which, speaking of Disney World, I totally got a Disney vibe from this, too. Like, there's nothing that points to it being an amusement park or anything like that, but just Wilford in general reminded me of Walt Disney.
Yeah, it's an egomaniac. Like, I have a vision, a visionary, crazy visionary thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like some of the train compartments are very like bullshitty versions of the real thing, like the dance club, the sushi bar, the aquarium. Like, so they're like these like not stereotypes, but like just simplified versions of what the real world would have been. So I could see like the whole train being this like crazy visionaries, like this is my community, and this is like kind of Walt Disney does that or did that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Epcot. You have like the different countries.
It also reminded me of the game BioShock. I forget the name of the guy that created the city in BioShock, but he reminded me of Wilfred and the whole situation of how they live in this contained environment, but it's so horrible in certain ways and scary and just so corrupt in others. So BioShock's a great game. Play it.
So, Caroline, since you're a vegetarian,
yes,
and you totally would not be up for eating veal or veal babies, what do you think about those protein bars?
If that was the only thing I had to eat, I would eat it. What can I do? I mean, interestingly enough, those protein bars kind of look like this like weird vegan like fruit roll-up things they sell at Whole Foods. That's all I could think about when I saw those things. Probably taste the same. I have no idea. Never tried one. It's disgusting. But you know, at least it's bugs. It's not like, I mean, if I had to eat it, yeah, I guess I would rather eat that than
babies.
An old man's arm.
Oh man, I don't know what that little thing happened during this podcast. That was weird.
That was our too many baby joke meter. Just it ran off.
That was God going, "Shut up! You're all going to hell."
Oh well.
So, Dace, did you see? I can't remember if 5 minutes or so into it, if they've eaten the protein bars yet. Do you remember anything like that?
Not really.
These big like Jello kind of looking things that they were eating.
No.
Black.
No.
Oh man, you're missing out on all this tasty food.
Babies do sound delicious.
So, actually, all right, you want to point out something how I'm a complete idiot? I had a note that I was written down. I completely forgot to get rid of, apparently. Very early on in the movie, I wrote a note. This woman looks a lot like Tilda Swinton.
Aww.
The worst would be like, this man looks like Tilda Swinton.
Kind of, yeah, I guess so. And yeah, it's because it's Tilda Swinton. So. Genius, apparently. I think that's it through my notes. Anything else anyone wants to throw out there, toss into the suggestions for topics to rant on, rave on, whatever?
Craziest compartment, like in the train. Anybody has a favorite?
Oh man.
Besides like the kids one, because it's like one kid thing, education train compartment, which is weird. Because like, is there a college? Is there a high school? They just kind of like elementary. You're good, whatever.
I'm kind of curious about the hooded people. Is their compartment just to stand around, like in hoods?
They work as like fishermen, right, or something?
I think they're like the butchers.
Yeah.
I think that that's what they had to be, just waiting for like. There's no fresh meat, so it's weird that like they need so many butchers.
Yeah, that's true.
I
still like how they stopped fighting to celebrate New Year's.
Yeah, like everyone just has an agreement where it's just like, yeah, cheering.
CinemaSins pointed one out to me that I didn't realize when it was happening during the movie, but there's a train compartment of just some dude peeling an apple. It's like, really? You devoted a whole train to that?
I forgot. I don't remember that one at all.
I don't remember that one either. Which one is that?
Right before the dentist one.
Oh, like a compartment in there.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's just kind of like, I get the dentist thing, where it could be like, maybe that's like the med bay, but like, what's with the whole, like, we're going to have like a dance thing, we're going to have the water room, we're going to have the bug production room, we're going to have that room where that one dude peels apples because he likes doing that.
Yeah, like it seems like they were utilizing weird ass spaces for priority. Like there's like a pool train like part, and then there's just like a sauna room, whatever, that's like really cramped.
Yeah.
You know, like just like their essentials are like really small, but like their luxury parts are like really big. But like I think that's the commentary about it, where it's like people spend more money on like unnecessary goods, while like necessities are just like whatever, like are just smushed together.
Yeah.
So I think that's another like thing. Again, the average moviegoer won't care about those things, but that's why like after so many viewings, if you like look at it and you see the symbolism, they're like, oh, now I'm one of those assholes that like can like rub people's noses like they don't get it. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Like it took a while for me to appreciate that, but I could see why. Like this is not going to be on everyone's favorite list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. True.
So 0 to 10, how's this rank? Dace, will start off with you.
Clearly a 10. Baby eating and killing people, it's got it all.
Fun food and games, it has everything. Chang, 0 to 10?
Like a 7. It's a great movie to throw on to show that you love like an international movie, even though the main star is like American as fuck.
Literally Captain America.
It's Captain America with a beard.
And, funny enough, he and Edgar have both been in Fantastic Four movies.
That's right.
Caroline, you're 0 to 10?
I'll give it a 7.5.
What's
I feel like it needed something else for me to fully love this movie. It might have been just like story development, a little bit more character development. I feel like things could have been a lot better, but at the same time, I just really like the design of this movie and the feel of this movie. Like I could go on and on about it. I just think it's one of those movies that if you really wanted to write like an essay on it about inequality and things like that, you could go so deep into this. I liked it, and I kind of like that they had this collab between Koreans and Americans to this movie. It definitely gave it that video game vibe that I also think it's cool. So yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, those are our opinions about Snowpiercer and the other winter movies. Make sure you leave your comments below. Tell us what you think of all of them. How would they rank compared to each other? Excuse me. And if there's any other winter movies that you think we, would be interested in checking out if we do another one in January of next year or whatever the case may be. I don't think we're going to be doing winter movies in June, but you never know. It all depends on if we release that stuff into the atmosphere and it ends up fucking us all over. But leave your comments below. Make sure you like this, share it, subscribe, follow it, whatever the case may be on whatever platform you're checking it out. There's one last thing for us to do, and that's to give some promotional stuff of what we have going on some other websites and everything else like that. So, Dace, I'm going to start off with you. Anything you want to promote to the people?
Check out the Dace Man Show now on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on megapowersradio.com, as well as the Dace Man Show YouTube.
Chang?
You can catch me as part of the Everything Action crew at everythingaction.com and our Everything Action show on Twitch, Stitcher.
Caroline?
Check out my website, creepycaroline.bigcartel.com, and Fanboys Anonymous.
All right, guys. From my side of things, of course, just keep checking out fanboysanonymous.com for everything that we have coming your way. That's going to be some different review points. I think our next one's probably going to be Deadpool. So if you're interested in that, then yeah, definitely want to check that out. Maybe some unboxing videos coming soon. Maybe some trailer reactions if we get any of them. Of course, we're going to do Minuteman reviews and stuff like that. really been trying to get some ideas for fan tracks. So if you're interested in audio commentary, leave suggestions down below of different things that you might be willing to check out. And of course, we have group meeting podcasts, and we got the articles. So much more content on Fanboys Anonymous. Make sure you check it all out. That's it, though, for episode 22 of the Movie Club, the January 2016 edition. I'm Tony Mango. On behalf of the panelists here and all the fanboys and fangirls that couldn't show up for this episode, we want to thank you all for listening. Keep on watching movies. We'll see you later, everybody.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm too old for this.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm finished.
That'll do, Pete. That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get late!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.